This is London with Bitcoin Spike and VIP Trader. Hope you're all doing well. Going to start off with the New York Open. We're going to look at Tesla, which is opening down. We are looking down. We're a few minutes before market open, and we'll draw some attention to some pickup levels. NVDA also going to open. Looks like we're going to be opening down. We had some downside targets on specific levels we identified. Want to say good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Let's kick into gear with Bitcoin. By the way, up 3% off a nice move. You guys will see what Bitcoin hit into was our 4-hourly specific cap line feature up and over the specific 20 moving average on that 4-hourly engaged perfectly. Boom, that's a signal. Way to trade. Nicely done on that 4-hourly, which we mention frequently. Boom, to the upside. Looking at this in terms of the measurement to the upside, let's just look real quickly before we hit the open. 3%, and look at the level of specificity. But boom, right onto the cap line. Longs engaged, cap line engaged. Remember, that's the RSI stochastic and MACD. Looking at an open, we are T minus 1 minute, just shy of that. Let's take a look at where we're at. Let's look at the 30-minute. What do we have on Tesla? In terms of patterning dynamics, we had a flash, guys, move to the upside in the last number of seconds of the preceding market, okay, close on Friday. Very big, very important move. Right now, we'd be pushing along this specific pivot to the left. Boom, pick up on the specific pivot to the left, attempting to play in. This is going to be tough. We have an ascending line of support on Tesla. It looks like the specific moving average, guys, here, or the specific standard deviation here, is in play as resistance instead of support. That is the play right now on Tesla, with a potential green buy line pickup below. Bulls had the opportunity to hold this specific line of support with a bit of a push, and they have failed such. Let's note such on the open. That is Tesla rocking and rolling to the downside. Let's take a look at NVIDIA on the daily. We are in, along, and at the specific level I projected could be problematic. And it's not me. There's no genie in the bottle here. I'm not bragging. This is a clear line of support, which is what? Which is beyond the specific level of support across the bottom on that channel formation on the daily. Congrats to everyone who is short on NVIDIA. What is the one thing? We had a downside target, but boom, that lower band after the cross underneath the 20 moving average. I do know some VIP that are short on NVIDIA. We had some issues with RSI, MACD, etc. So nice to see some opportunity to profit on those shorts. Congratulations, and way to trade. Now, in terms of pickups, if you're looking for a specific pickup, why don't we go and just reference the weekly? Looks like it's the hot item right now in terms of the 20 moving average, that pickup on the weekly. And again, let's review, what do I have here? The 20 moving average on the weekly was the hit. The specific 3-minute, let me clear up our targets to the downside, were hit. The 15-minute, okay, we have the 30-minute. Please try and make sure that you have a specific screen that's in play with all the time frames. Very important as you look at the hourly, 4-hourly, the daily, the weekly. And when I tell you that the specific orders are set below and waiting, you'll just see why. The specific weekly on NVIDIA is in play. We had the red cap line. Remember the specific entry along the top. Cap line means stochastic RSI MACD placed on your chart for reference. Boom, perfect hit. Now you would look at that specific hit down to and measure through the 15%, about a 14.34 to be exact. Trade to the downside, very nicely done. You'll see consistent shorts along this red cap line. That is money. That's a nice chart there and nice open on that specific weekly. As we go from, let's just say, as we go from asset to asset, we looked at the hourly. Okay, the hourly was a nice hit late on Friday into on Tesla, the specific top pro line. That top pro line is our fire and ice. And guys, it's Monday morning. I hope you are doing well. We hope everything is going very well. Let's see what we have. Let me look into the charts here, or into the chats, and make sure that we're all good and ready to go. In terms of the, I don't want to miss any comments or otherwise, make sure everything's in order. Good. Now, in terms of the specifics, this specific level is an important level to hold on Tesla. It just, given the fact, and we'll rewind through this, the 5-second, this was a 1-second spike, boom, to the upside that engaged Friday just before the close. Literally, it took 1 second. It was up 1.3%, about 1.4% to the upside and the downside. That was a big move. Just proof. Orders are waiting. When I say that, orders are literally waiting and engaged at those lower levels. So looking at the micro here on the 5-second as the traders attempt to, and if the chat is disabled, that is my fault. I have no idea why it would be disabled. So I'll just say good morning in the chat. I appreciate you letting me know that in the back. Venus, thank you very much. And in terms of just shout out to all the VIP, I'll just say good morning. This is London. Looks like that 30-minute buy line may be engaging on the specific Tesla drop that we have, down 2%, NVIDIA down 2.7%. Let's take a look again at, let's reinforce on the daily. The daily cap line is in play on Tesla. That's a nice level of consideration as we look at and expect. This is one thing. As we look at our specific signals, cap line, okay, and again, cap line just means that is RSI, stochastic, and MACD. That's a level of consideration, a kernel calculative, that we look at for interaction. So while we may be long, let's say for instance on the daily on Tesla, we're always prepared and orders are stacked at this specific level. We expect a level of interaction with this line at some point. So as we talk about, orders are waiting, orders are stacked. This is a primary level of consideration, aside from the specific Bollinger Band tactic. You'll see that level of consideration here, reinforcing price along the downside. You'll see it reinforcing price along the upside with some difficulty, right? But essentially it is that kernel calculative which likes to hug price, action. Once it flips to the downside, the specific RSI, stochastics, and MACD are assumed to be in control, or are really in control of the bears instead of the bulls, respectively. So we would be looking right now at the specific 4-hourly. 4-hourly has just turned red. Let's go over Bitcoin again, because Bitcoin rocked to the upside. Nicely done. Inverse head and shoulders. What I was excited about on Bitcoin, what I really liked, and we went over, was the specific broadening bottom formation. This broadening bottom formation, essentially it would have acted contrary to the market and Bitcoin's recent technical activity as you were to see this broadening structure here. I would say very much so, apart from the specific pattern diagnostics that could be deployed automatically within TradingView, we're still assessing those. It didn't pick up on this broadening formation. This has been one of the most consistent patterns trading recently, and that was noted in terms of Bitcoin. So it's nice to see that move to the upside. I've also laid over a bit of an inverse head and shoulders here just for your consideration. And we are at that 23.6, the specific 23.6, with the 23.6 with the specific rising wedge feature. That is a bit of compromise, okay? It's one of the reasons we don't prefer, as we look at Bitcoin up about 3% on the open. Again, kind of stealing the show on the open. Bitcoin did this a few days last week. I say stealing the show to the upside. As we were to, on market open, New York noted, we note that. In terms of the rising wedge, it's not something we like to, guys, it's not something we like. We understand it a bit in the dynamic of the specific broadening pattern. But it references the level of support to the level of resistance, that broadening that goes on. Again, if you trade Bitcoin, I'm preaching to the choir. You already know these have traded extremely well over the preceding number of weeks. A bit of a line of variability here. If you were to catch this internal level of resistance here with hit 1, 2, and 3, that would be arguably, depending upon your time frame and consideration of candles or not, instead of the line chart, that would be a more proficient measurement. So just understand on different time frames, you will have a different measurement. You'll have different targets. Right now, we are parked at that 23.6. The thing I like possibly the most on this specific move is, let me clear the chart up for you. We did get the specific cross over the specific 20 moving average and hit, bam, right into that top side band is what I'm looking for, right? We want that crossover and boom, target being the top side band. That's a nice move. You look at that 3% today on the screen with Bitcoin on the market open, and that's a nice trade. Again, in terms of the sequence of events for NVIDIA, which took a while to pay to the downside, you're looking at like a 5-day, arguably a 6-day, and note this, as NVIDIA on the short took a while to pay, right? That was a trade that went for 6 days on NVDA. When we talked about that short, et cetera. Looking at the specifics here, this took about 6 days to play out. After this crossover push attempt on Bitcoin on the daily 20 moving average, another attempt with a set over, right? With a set over that 20 moving average. And yeah, we were looking at a 5 to 6 day trade to capture about 5%. So to the extent that there were a multiplicity of trades at those lower time frames, that's why we enjoy the lower time frames, the pattern swing trades, guys, you name it. Now, in terms of the auto definition here, let's say the auto recognition features on NVIDIA, let's note that TradingView right now has us parked in a rising wedge. I have it on the screen. I don't disagree with that specific drawing. They don't have drawn out a specific descending wedge feature here. I think that descending wedge is relevant. They have also noted a specific topping formation, okay? So a top one and a top two, and that is valid. So I'll say that's valid. Be careful of any targets to the downside. When you look at a maximum target versus, as you know, our fractional completions, we're open for about 10 minutes right now on New York. I want to say good morning to everyone. I hope you're doing well, and we like to hit the markets. In terms of the crossover to the upside on Bitcoin, congrats to anybody who traded. We noted this target to the upside. She will surprise you, meaning Bitcoin, without a doubt. She will certainly surprise you. We talked about the specific micro feature hit. Let's take a look again at the micro feature hit as we're seeing some nice action to the downside. Let's look at the 4 hourly, if we can look at that specific 4 hourly. That red line is going to be an indication for us. That's an indication that the specific 20 moving average may be incoming on the on that 4 hourly time frame. That 20 moving average is a hot zone for interest right now. I would just say this in terms of the specifics for Tesla. Do pay attention. We may not have discussed this if you just got in to the room here. Let's take a look at this. Do you see this wick? Boom. And we didn't cover this. This was just latent. I can't believe it was there. I looked back and I was like, no, it was there. 5 second to a 1 second chart will show a spike before the close on Friday. This is interesting. A 1.3% boom move to the upside. This is on the 1 second chart. Let's see if I can get that back on the 1 second chart. Bam, this railed straight to the upside to a target to pick up shorts. I tell you, to pick up shorts. This looks like, just so that you know, and it's a bit odd because it looks like a large purchase. This type of a wick event looks like a large purchase, which you don't often see on something like Tesla. You'll see this on cryptos and less developed exchanges. You'll see someone hammer in, boom, and immediately create a wick to the upside where they're forced to cover essentially the entirety of the order book up and through the level of liquidity that they are injecting into the market in the form of a purchase. This looks like a purchase. If you guys pay attention or have executed large orders, you'll agree that's exactly what that looks like, okay? So with that said, what it gave us, and you will see the dynamic we were working with last week, which was that rising wedge feature. What it did provide, that wick at the end, did provide shorts a great opportunity, obviously, to participate in the market. But what it also did, in a bit of a confounding, means here, we either had established a specific flat, near flat top. Let's call it a near flat top, while considerations are obviously there for a triple top. But given that 1 second spike, you have to recognize that that gave the traders, and this goes in the logbook on Tesla as being a little bit more than tricky. Pay attention in terms of this. Looking at the framework, it certainly did fill out the expectation. That 1 second wick, boom, to the upside, filled out an expectation that buyers were in the market. So that was what Tesla left the traders with, left us with over the weekend, was a consideration that it looks like buyers are here. Now, if you had orders waiting above, this was an easy short. I mean, it paid you in 1 second. And in terms of that, if we were to look back at the details, this was that specific spike to the upside. It was right along our specific top pro line on Fire and Ice. Guys, Fire and Ice is awesome. I will explain the details as we get into it, but it is really an awesome tool. For those who have traded it, I will say some people are no longer trading it. They may no longer be with our group, and they literally write us and tell us, I've never made so much money. I am so sorry. Or, essentially they are just in a state of regret. They don't have access to the tool. So make use of that tool, Fire and Ice. one of the key benefits of it is that it will prepare you for I'd say a level of exposure that's reasonable, okay? A level of exposure that's reasonable in that you always have the ability to participate lower or target lower if you are short. For instance, so we're seeing the bears push below a specific line right now, which is important to us, that identifies that RSI, stochastic, and MACD. That would be, instead of the specific fire and ice, those are kernel calculatives. They're extremely, extremely important for us. Okay, you'll find kernel language as you look through, say, for instance, Renaissance Technologies. If you were to look at hedge funds, etc., please look into that in your own time. Okay, in terms of the specifics, we would look at, again, I'm looking at this specific on the daily. Any lower 20 moving average right now is going to be a potential target to the downside. If we were to just assess the specific on Tesla, looking at this, to assess the specific target framework to the downside based upon the specific amplitude of the ascending triangle, which was set with that last second move on Friday, okay? Let's please pay attention to this. With the specific flat top resistance within threshold, ascending line of support up and through this zone at least, we would what, guys? We would have that maximum, the maximum feature here in terms of the 50% completion to the downside, which is the current pick up attempt by the bulls. Also, the specific, we're going to look to the left and see that pivot area, the pivot zone, the demand structuring here, where it's essentially, guys, if you look left, some assets will I would say, comport with this or comply with this specific maximum a bit better than others. What we will say is the 50% typically is the maximum probability, with the 100%, that 260 range being that specific full amplitude move of the ascending triangle. Yes, in terms of this, the specific amplitude move of that ascending triangle, that would be completed. Let me drag this down for you. Hope you're all doing well on a Monday morning. That would be completed to the downside. That specific 260 target is in play, okay? So a bit of more than just a bit of a technical piece to work with here. I mean, it's turning into a bit of a piece to work with a 1 second. I mean, this is Tesla. We're paying attention quite a bit here. This is it's proving itself to be a technical piece to work with. A 1 second spike at the end of the day for 1.2 to 1.5%. Look at that 1.44% to the upside in 1 second. Bam, boom. This is something to consider as you trade. Again, the volatility of Tesla is one thing that we appreciate. With that said, okay, we expect, let's expect never a handout in the market, always a challenge. Let's note when something becomes a little bit aggressive, and it could be aggressive in your favor as we look at the potential 260 target. The specific dynamics in play, we will say the following. The specific dynamics in play, as we were to look at some quick opportunities, there are two ways to look at it. Tesla's being tricky, or Tesla just paid, right? Tesla just paid anyone who caught that specific short along the top at the top pro line. That is a nice short at this moment. If they were still holding, look at this, a 5% move to the downside. And this is some nice action. Tesla down 3.76%. And the question that we have, of course, is revisiting any of these prior pivots to the left here. Let me go ahead and clean this up. This is, I'd say, a level where certainly there are orders, as we would look at a level of resistance to flip to support. These would be natural levels of interest for the pickup along with these measurements. And it's not a question in terms of whether or not this is accurate. These are the targets to the downside based upon the specific ascending triangle, that 260. It is you guys can verify that in terms of hey, what we got going on? Nice moves. Yeah, what's going on, Scotland? Liam, nice to see you in the chats. What's going on, my man? Hope everything is going well in Scotland. We are excited to be trading in, guys, trading in Scotland. I know you're trading in Scotland. There's a medal for you. Nice to see you this morning. And nice short on NVDA. Doing very well in that short in NVDA. I don't always mention names when people are trading or people are short, but Liam is killing a short on NVIDIA. Way to trade. That's VIP. Killing it, huh? We hit that downside target, downside band, and the bulls are in a bit of a fix right now on NVIDIA. You know this. It's beyond question. The specific fix that they're in is we have this nice channel structure, level of support, level of resistance. We've noted downside targets without trying to become too too bearish the entirety of the time in terms of that downside target being the bottom side Bollinger Band on the daily. What we have also noted is this level of potential, let's just say chaos thrown into the mix with the support here, right? Hit 1, hit 2, boom. This level of pickup in the market is frustrating. The specific level of support that it's going to be a parallel carry down feature from the resistance to a support line pickup that's just in the process of being frustrated. We would prefer bulls to hold this line on NVIDIA. The fact that we are digging in deeper beyond that level of support means that, yes, I would suppose that the lower orders are picking up and engaging. Some flash trade opportunities this morning, which we covered. If you're picking up at this specific level, this is a picture of the daily right now. Congratulations. If you're along that line, we're on the daily green buy line. In terms of our assessment or in terms of our operation, a daily green buy line is nice. It just generally is. In terms of the kernel calculative, a daily green buy line is nice. It's something we look at. So while things are pouring down, you'll just see the one thing that we can note about fire and ice is that it's giving you this entry into this zone, on this zone, at that level of support, letting you consider that. Again, what do we have lower? Fire sale line. That'd be fine. We'd love to get the fire sale line as well. If you're doing flash trades versus carry trades, for instance, Liam short on NVIDIA is a carry trade to the downside, right? I think you enter somewhere around here, potentially around a cap line, or turning red, that RSI stochastic MACD at some point in along the top here. So nice carry down, Liam. Patient is the way, huh? Pretty much. Looking at the specifics here, you may have been in your short right now for up to 2 weeks on NVIDIA. So not a flash trade. Hopefully, as you all are accompanying, or let's say composing your trade profile, it includes flash trades, literally 5, 10, 20-second trades. Hopefully it includes some day trades, right? You may have some trades that last 5 minutes instead of a full day, of course, during your, that don't necessarily qualify as a flash trade. When I say a flash trade, I'm talking about a very quick hit trade in, out, 10, 15 seconds. Bam, bam. You know my preference, guys. Former hedge fund owner, private, non-SEC, not financial advice. You guys go to your broker if you want that. But looking at a flash trade dynamic, these are just things that we enjoy personally. Okay, that's just one thing with our trade group. We like flash trades. Bam, into that level of support. Nice on the daily. That is the line that is literally holding. So if you did, guys, tune in on a Friday. If you're working with the technicals on your own, and you did find yourself in this position to pick up, you are part of the chaos in the market right now for the bulls. I'll just tell you, because we're pushing below this. Granted, on the daily, we may have some time to pick this back up, but it's definitely in play. Just look at this nice level of support on NVIDIA. NVIDIA's hot, guys. It's hot, but see, nice trade. Nice work here with a push below noted, but you're up in the money about 1% there, depending upon your level of tolerance and your risk that you have imputed into your trade. We're going to continue to allow guys, whatever dynamic you would like to develop in the markets to develop. Okay, the 20 moving average on the weekly, that's a figure that has directly engaged on NVIDIA. So while you assess the specifics in play, and again, I will remind you, there's a delay on YouTube. There is a delay. So if you're trying to live trade now, guys, if you're live trading now, you are behind the ball. You are behind the game. You need to be accelerated in front of the game. Use the tactics that we discuss. See if they work for you. If they don't, hey, you are welcome to move on. I know that they work. So in terms of the tactics that we use the New York Institute of Finance, where Wall Street goes to school, literally. You guys have someone who went to Wharton or went to Harvard Business School, went to just you name it, Stanford. What the fact is, they will go to New York Institute of Finance after graduating to really get into the trade details many times. So they're known for such. They've been in business for 100 and some odd years. They're top-notch group. So we encourage you to look into that level of proficiency as you engage in your trade tactics. 20 moving average, doing nicely, huh? Doing very nicely. Look at this in terms of a 3.45% move. That's a nice day. That is a nice pickup. Looking at 3.45% in the first 20 minutes of price action, we'll take it. Nicely done. Let's take a look at some of the other, the action ongoing with NVIDIA particularly is a nice pickup. Let's take a look at that 4 hourly as well. 4 hourly, noting a green byline with some frustration. NVIDIA being aggressive, we would have preferred actually a little bit more, a higher level of aggression, looking nearly into that specific fire sale line. We got the green buy line. It's been a difficult pickup. That 20 moving average really is required to look at on the weekly. If you don't have the weekly up, you have to look at it. That is the level in play. And again, I will keep these levels up from the 3-minute, the 15-minute, the 30, the hourly, 4-hourly, daily, the weekly. And I'll just encourage you of one thing, to maintain some presence with the weekly on your charts, to maintain that as an active target. When you forget those or you don't have them present, I just tell you that that's when some good trades will fall through the radar. Okay, just very plainly put, if you look at the weekly again on the top, that was the specific entry at this specific on this week down to the specific, and that's on our cap line, calculative RSI, stochastic MACD, calculative BAM. You'll just see the number of shorts in along this level, just the level of resistance that it provided, and the direct entry here. And you're looking at a direct entry here on that 20 moving average as well. So we're seeing a very nice. We got Venus in the house. Venus, how are you doing? Nice to see you, Venus. Boom. And I'll put Leon. Good morning. Huh? Nice to see everybody in VIP. Definitely, you guys are trading and you're trading well. As we look at the details here, it's one thing to have, it's one thing just to have it seems like a remote time frame up like the weekly or the monthly. And I'll just encourage you to keep them up. Please keep those time frames up so that you constantly will be reminded of their significance as you place orders in and around. And it's, let's see here, we're looking at a pickup now. Let's go back to Tesla. Just some encouragement, guys. Not a requirement, just some encouragement. If you find that doesn't work for you and you say, well, London, I've seen enough. This 20 moving average thing just doesn't work. It's over. It doesn't work. All right, well, maybe you move on and you find what NVDA hit exactly this morning for 3.79%. And it's not a question of if, it is just a question of essentially when and at what level of frequency, right? The frequency and guys, the opportunity that you're able to deploy into it in terms of or to structure into it. Some of the order placement, etc., is not an easy process. Okay, this active dynamic multiplicity of levels that are in play, it's not easy, right? It's not supposed to be simple. It's supposed to require your proficiency in technical analytics and in your proficiency in trade tactics. And if there were no proficiency needed, we would all guys not be doing what we're doing. That's what we appreciate about trading is the level of proficiency required. Those distinctions, I am just convinced, and I want you to know as you assess your involvement in the market, that the market dynamics are rarely, if at all, or if ever, something that are going to be easily understood by the masses. I just tell you guys, and imagine there's 200,000 people. I mean, we're all attracted to this, this notion that, well, there's this great, guru, 200,000 people are following that person. And I know those 200,000 people all have the Lamborghini, Maserati, Ferrari. They're all into, yes, they've all got the high-rise penthouses, all 200,000 guys. Almost the more easily replicated or digestible that a specific technical argument is, or a technical approach to the market, the more easily that it's mass-produced, it therefore loses its ability, I just say its value. And you can get that directly out of New York Institute of Finance. That's a maxim that they have established for years. Essentially, something that's free also, if something's free, it shouldn't have any value in the market. Now, that's New York Institute of Finance saying that. You can challenge that. But I'm just going to tell you, if the notion that you would be able to assimilate or amass 100 or 200 or multiple hundreds of thousands of people and easily deliver the right answer to all of them. It's almost I was thinking about that this weekend, and just the notion of that contravenes the very idea that we have as we look at some of the time frames on NVIDIA, really contravenes the need to have an advantage or ability to have an advantage in the market. That it really contravenes the ability to have an advantage in the market. So just to work in that, it doesn't have to be an exclusive, shielded, secret code that you work with either, but there has to be some sort of a barrier to entry to creating profits in the market There have to be. So, and that's part of maturity as a trader, is realizing that the 50,000 or the 100,000, right? And I'm gonna, you know, even if it's Kramer, guys, or maybe especially, I don't know. He got the NVIDIA call right years ago. But looking at this, it's the widely disseminated, as we were looking to look at it, the widely disseminated quick fix, easy answer. It's what everyone wants, and it's what no one gets when they walk into that mindset. So challenge yourselves. Find the answer that isn't the easy answer, that's the right answer. And I'll challenge you in the markets, most of the time, the right answer, even as you build your own profile. You may say, well, yeah, I made a ton of money on Shiba coin. Okay. Is that the profile that you want? I'm not knocking Shiba coin. I know a lot of people who made a lot of money in Shiba coin. It's different than waking up and saying, I just knocked it out of the park on Tesla and NVIDIA and Bitcoin. I know it's different. You know it's different, okay? In terms of kind of the mass pump and dump hype potential, that's not what we're looking for. We'll recognize something if it's structurally sound. I have a watch list of cryptos from Bitcoin to Solana, Doge, Ethereum, XRP, yes, Sheeb, and Matic. Those are our steadfast cryptos. That's on my watch list right here. I've got the DXY, the NASDAQ, Taiwan Semiconductor, AMD, NVIDIA, and Tesla. I like this mix. These are some solid, I would like to say higher liquidity, at least relatively higher liquidity cryptos that are included, that have a bit of a lure to them somehow, right? We have had some VIP make quite a deal of money in I think all of these cryptos. So they're on the list for a reason. The higher liquidity, higher quality assets right now, as we were to look at, I think Bitcoin fits squarely within the specific, if we were to, now to say it fits within the dynamic of an NVIDIA or a Tesla. I mean, NVIDIA and Tesla are runaway trains right now. So in terms of performance alone, there's got to be a distinguishing factor that we have to recognize. It's not what we want to trade, okay? That's not always the right answer in the market, not what we want to trade. You know, I want this to go up. It's going to be a tough road for you. No, it's a lot of times what we choose to trade. And you'll find that if you choose to trade the right assets, higher liquidity, right? Meaning you guys, higher liquidity, higher levels of participation, a broader level of participation, you're going to find yourself with more solid technicals. We really should have more solid technicals. So we look at NVIDIA again on this pickup line, that potential for chaos, the drop down to level of support on this broadening formation, right? Ascending line of resistance, this specific ascending and diverging therewith line of support that we called out on Friday. Nice to see that level engage. If you engage at that level, you engaged in a positive trade, I think for a 1.5 or so in this zone, point and a half. So nicely done there. But as you craft yourself into the trader that you want to be, okay, as you craft yourself into the trader that you want to be, I'm going to encourage you to stay flexible enough with the market, not overly flexible so that you're chasing any specific altcoin or penny stock that's going up 20 or 50%. That's something you're going to bring into the market to share with people that also trade. So you're going to define yourself at some level. And you may say, look, nothing's moving on the weekend. I can't help it. Then enjoy it. Go for it. I'm not going to disparage that. But what I'll say is this. If you're looking for solid technical plays, if you're looking for something to really bring long-term into the field of trading and traders, you're going to find that being able to walk into the room and tell anybody and everybody that you just hit into, let's say you called, a major move in the market that was all over the major financial news networks and everybody else missed it, whatever that may be, you're going to find there's a different level of personal satisfaction. Okay, I really believe that, and I look forward to seeing you all develop in that regard, and you already are very, very developed in that regard. Let's look at Tesla. That's just my 2 cents, guys. Take it or leave it. If you're like, hey, forget about it. I want these altcoins. I want the crazy altcoins and the penny stocks. Well, okay. We're going to focus on the major. I want to be able to have a legitimate complaint. By the way, I want to be able to have a legitimate complaint on the technicals. I want to know if NVIDIA just went down from a pre-designated kernel level of precise exact entry that I can count on with some degree of certainty, given the level of liquidity and given the breadth of participation. I want to know that I can count on the technicals, whether it be the 20 moving average, whether or not it be my specific kernel calculative as well. I'll just tell you, I want to be able to have a legitimate complaint. And when we're dealing with less liquid concerns, that ability to complain really is couched by the fact it's like, well, you kind of knew better on that one, right? So as we look at the specifics here on NVIDIA, looking at up and over that 3-minute, 20 moving average is in play. Nice move, really a great recovery by NVIDIA, and it's nice to see it drop straight down to that level. Difficult, I'll just say this, if NVIDIA can hold on this day, this is gonna be a nice day for NVIDIA, honestly, and it's a great, this is just a, guys, it's a power technical move right now. We've dropped down into that level of support on NVIDIA on the daily that we talked about that was a problem for the bulls. Who's waiting there? Bulls, right? This is the problem. Who's waiting here? It would be the bulls with orders waiting on that specific daily. So who's getting rewarded? The bulls, the guys who are going long, waiting for that drop. Boom. Who got rewarded as well on the specific cross under that 20 moving average? On the cross under the 20 moving average, what do we have, guys? What do we have? That nice hit, boom, straight into that lower band. That's your target. Cross under, lower band. Target, standard deviation, guys. Bollinger Band. Cross over, upper band. Boom. So you got rewarded here nicely. Bam, bam. You'll just see that throughout. This hit is well dug down deeply into it as well. But that over under the 20 moving average is a strategy that we pay attention to without a doubt. Again, the 20 moving average, if you are guys, if you're playing with any set of moving averages, trading with any set of moving averages that you're accustomed to and that suits you better, no problem. If it's a 5, guys, it doesn't matter. It's the 5 or the 20, the 4, the 9, the 18, the 21, the 50, the 100, the 200. We can go on and on. But whatever your specific preference is, stick with it and make sure that you have a level of proficiency with it and also a level of reliability that's built into it. Without a doubt. So nice to see the specifics in terms of the pickup this morning. Nice that we were able to identify that in advance, right? I don't care if you caught the short right immediately. I don't care if you caught the, from my standpoint, what I care about, let me say what I prioritize would be this specific level of support and the dynamic in play right now. This is not a clear-cut situation for NVIDIA. It's just not. We spoke about this last week. Do you know when you're in a clear-cut, higher degree of relative certainty, or do you know when you're muddled a bit? Are we in a gray area? We're in a gray area to the extent that you've picked up along this specific level of support here. You have a decision to make. Bulls at a certain level will not release this position. Other bulls, let's say and we would get into different types of trades you guys might have. You might have entered a flash trade. You might have entered a medium kind of frequency trade and more of a potential hold position. You could have entered arguably 1, 2, 3 trades here. You could have had a quick release trade. You could say I'm going to release part of my trade, but if you wanted to hold a trade for a few minutes versus a few hours versus a few days versus a few weeks, it can get a little bit complicated in terms of what you choose to release and why, how your specific entries are either executed beforehand or combined, depending upon which platform you're on. You could have a rationale for having different entries, different specific entries here. You also may have had different specific levels or different orders pick up in this zone. So the bottom line is what I prioritize is bringing levels that can engage. And at this point, you may be the type of trader to be like, nope, that's it. I got my 1.x% on the specific pickup here. I don't need to ride this out. I'm going to hit the open tomorrow, and we're going to look at, let's say, trading Bitcoin, or let some of this pattern framework work its way out. And there's not a need to continue for me beyond what my morning will allow me to enjoy. Right? You're gonna define yourselves as traders in that regard, in terms of whether or not you're a flash trader, whether or not you're kind of a medium frequency trader, or whether or not you're and by flash I mean quick high frequency trading, right? Or whether or not you're a day trader, or like some of these recent trades on NVIDIA, etc., that took really weeks to work out. The specific short from the top, you're looking at 2 weeks now to work out. Really just nice to have identified it. So guys, no qualms about the fact we opened lower on some of the key equities that we focus on quite a bit. Let's look at Bitcoin again and see where she's at in terms of the details. And I hope you're all doing well again. I'm going to let you all roll here in just a little bit and move on with your mornings. Nice to see that specific weekly. Pay attention to the weekly. We noted it last week on NVIDIA, without a doubt. And let's look before we just abandon ship on this. The specific Tesla can be difficult in terms of pricing. I can just say that Tesla can be difficult in terms of pricing. You all know that. Let's take a look at we've got the hourly, 4 hourly, the daily. Let's look, this is what I want to look at right here. Essentially, we've picked up at the golden pocket, right? Let's look at the specific wicks. We have a pickup at the golden pocket on this, and if you didn't see the beginning of the stream, we talked about this 1 second wick up to this specific 278 line. That's a difficult level, I have to tell you guys, or a difficult operation of price and the market participants, I suppose, to engage in, because it did give that expectation of a near flat top resistance and that ascending triangle. That was just a development that was literally a split second just before the market closed. So looking at that framework, it gave the impression that the buyers were there in the market, right? Enough to push up into this flat top dynamic, hit 1, 2, 3 with an ascending line of support. So we are on breach of that now with quite the lesson to be learned, okay? And the lesson to be learned here as we were to look at this, and we went over this in the back for the VIP, but the specific pickup, boom, where were we? Huddled just right above the specific 20 moving average. You guys will look back at your charts. We were just stuck right above that 20 moving average. So it slammed up and picked up shorts at the specific target to the upside of that band. Pay attention. It slammed up after being parked up and over the 20 moving average, literally within 1 second, and bam, just a flash trade. Boom. Who got rewarded? Longs who were ready to take and shorts that were ready to engage. Boom, boom. Those shorts got handsomely rewarded. It was a nice move given the open as well, but not simple. This was not a simple move by the market. Definitely one of those challenging setups that we don't mind at all, but we pay attention to, right? We're going to pay attention to sporadic price movements to the extent that they will accommodate our specific tactics or that our tactics need to be adjusted and accommodate the specific any such instances. We will have that open for consideration on both sides of that equation, okay? To the extent that it accommodates us or we need to accommodate it, we will leave that equation open on both sides for our own consideration and development, without a doubt. Let's go to the specific 4 hourly. I just say on Tesla right now, the question is the pickup at the golden pocket. We pushed beyond the specific 50%. Let's note that is the maximum here, with the full threshold down to that 260 level. So herein also we would have the expectation of a target dynamic to where, guys? Specific failed descending wedge. We would have an expectation, and again, we're going to look for things such as volume considerations we went into last week, right? Specific target where at the failed descending wedge apex, right? So as we were to look at that, this would be a standard target feature for us in the back. I'll just remind you of the targeting. Essentially, we have a bullish pattern, something that should express itself bullishly, and we have a divergence of price line to pattern expectation. Okay, so when we see that divergence, we look for, and price line, meaning we went down, wherein we were in and when I say a divergence to pattern expectation, the pattern we were expecting it to move to the upside. So when we see that divergence of price line to pattern expectation and performance, we will target this specific apex, right? And in the context thereof, we will be paying attention, as always, to considerations such as volume, which I don't always bring into the mix because we have a lot on our charts already, right? But we will pay attention, like we did last week, on the specific discussion on the head and shoulders, right? This could be looked at as a modified head and shoulders as well. We could look at that as a modified head and shoulders. Not crazy about this interaction here to the left on that shoulder. But as we were to look at that, we will consider a heavy amount of volume as being prohibitive of reaching the specific wedge apex. But we do see, you can name it in the back in terms of the percentage probability that we see of recoveries to wedges and what's required. I always say if you have a target, what do you need to get to your target? It's best if you have a pattern to get to your target. So looking at Tesla, these are the key dynamics in play right now. As we look at NVDA, we do know the pickup on NVIDIA and the line that we went to, just to kind of recover here in terms of, or reassess the open, what we went down to, that level of support on NVIDIA. Also, what did we hit exactly on that 20 specific moving average. Let's reframe now that we have those solidly in play. Let's reframe, and before I skip on NVIDIA, we do see that specific 3-minute hop up and over that specific 20 moving average that we discussed. It pushed for a minute. The market kind of wants your time. You guys know that, making you wait those extra bars to get up and over. But nice to see NVIDIA just really recovering well, and dare I say, to a preceding flat bottom support. That's on the ticket. This is a heck of a move down to provide for the potential recovery to a preceding flat bottom support. We look at flat bottom supports, right? We very much look at flat bottom supports for a recovery to said flat bottom. When they overperform, certainly it could become difficult on the micro versus the macro. Absolutely, but that's a nice recovery. If you're looking for another dynamic aside from a failed descending wedge in terms of the recovery, please pay attention as you're looking at the specific descending, if we were to look here, in terms of that specific apex feature, right? Failed descending wedge, looking for a specific, at least to that apex in terms of a target to the upside. I will say that another very commonly seen fact in the market, in operation of price in the market, is a return to a preceding flat bottom support, right? It's almost not a foregone conclusion, but it's a very common, it's so common, in fact, let the operation here of, I like to think of this as a break-even point for those who decided to enter on support. And you don't always think of things like that, but when you look at price operating in the form of a flat bottom support, there were traders who decided to get in here at this level of an existing level of support. And I know that you understand the dynamics of, well, it still could have been bearish, a descending triangle. You can go through the gamut here. But looking at this, I really appreciate the opportunity to say, well, it probably, and most of the times does, the majority of the times it does, give the traders the opportunity who entered on support to achieve a break-even exit. Now that is a real fair kind of market. If we were to look at things here, that is a fair kind of market that we will enjoy explaining. Isn't it nice to say, okay, I see there's a flat bottom support. So there was some sort of a notion that buyers were entering along this flat bottom support, the 3-minute on NVIDIA. And so the market can normally can get those buyers back to a level of break even. What a nice dynamic in the market. When we see those specific dynamics in play, I really like the way that we can lay that out and we can discuss that. It's not a guarantee. Absolutely. Go through and find those instances where the buyers on support are completely cleaned out, washed out. But just to understand that it's a nice dynamic as well when you can find it with consistency on an asset. You'd be like, man, NVIDIA is just a pretty fair asset to trade. I mean, look at the number of times, do your back testing, but the number of times that we see buyers who may have essentially entered upon an established level of support that if they are thrown to the downside, they're getting that nice recovery. Assess this on the multiplicity of your assets that you're choosing to trade. We like that dynamic. All right, we really like that dynamic if and when it's in play, and I like that way of structuring the thought around a return to a flat bottom support. We can also say that in terms of a flat top resistance, we could have the same type of argument there on Tesla. So, and thank you, shout out Scotland. Appreciate the comment there in terms of the TA level. It's just nice to see everyone trading, see the levels, engaging the patterns. Even a little bit of a surprise on Tesla. It's nice to throw some additional dynamics into the mix. It really is in terms of this 1 second, this 1 second shot to the upside on the close last week. We'll take it. Let's enjoy the process in terms of the technicals, how they're developing, and we don't want a boring, stagnant dynamic to trade with. We want some action. We want some surprises. We want to be challenged. That's what may distinguish us, guys, as a group and individuals, right? Just nice dynamics in play. I think we've been over the entirety of let's say NVIDIA and Tesla in terms of the dynamics in play. Let's look at Bitcoin and close out the open. Nice open, nice volatility. NVIDIA surprised in terms of the recovery. Let's just say NVIDIA performed. Now, in terms of the specifics here, let's say in terms of the specifics, let's go to the specific line chart on Bitcoin. Let's go into the 4 hourly. Now the 4 hourly, what was the crux? The 4 hourly was your cap line. right, on Bitcoin. You got it. Boom. I'm going to be seriously saying boom because you caught a nice move. Look at the exact precision level entry on the cap line. That's a special trade. Bam. Into the specific exact cap line entry. Boom. Appreciate everyone who made that trade possible. Congratulations. And we're looking at a 3.12% move to the upside. Beautifully well done. That's a nice move. You had no reason to get out of it. I'm going to say that. You went blue. I could turn on the specific buy and sell lines. We don't need to, do we? I could turn on the specific long indication here, right? If you set up and over and waited for that confirmation, I could turn those on. But I normally don't have the buy and sell signals on, long and short. If you have them on your screen, no problem. But I just like, I've got enough going on in terms of the 20 moving average, the specific fire and ice, and that cap line. With that combo, it's really difficult. I'll tell you, it's really difficult to beat. In terms of your trade assessment, keep the 4 hourly cap line. What is it? It is volatility. It's a volatility index, guys. I'd say a volatility, not index, but a measurement, a gauge of volatility as expressed through RSI, MACD, and stochastic. That's it. It's a kernel derivative of RSI, MACD, and stochastic. So I can, every time, I can reference RSI, MACD, and stochastic, or I can just specifically refer to our cap line. Okay, with the operation on the specific chart of the 4 hourly, this precise, we're just going to know that you understand that the cap line is the RSI, stochastic, and MACD, that we expect those levels of interaction, right? As you see the specifics here, look at the number of hits along the specific red cap line here on the 4 hourly. That's a lot of trades, few pushes, few washouts. Look at the level here, though, in terms of those additional short opportunities here in a tight weekend. It was a tight weekend in terms of trading. So nice to see a late pickup, an overnight pickup as I guess Asia got going hot on the ticket. They did well. They didn't mind the rising wedge in play for Bitcoin. So nice to see the cap line. That's the key feature right now, technically speaking. And like I say that, it's not a custom indicator to the extent that we would say, well, we won't expect any real technical argument. It's just a group of signals. No, it is RSI, stochastic, and MACD. So it's a technical feature, a kernel feature there in terms of the calculative of RSI, stochastic, and MACD. It just is what it is. So you all understand that. We have expectations in terms of the operation of that capital control line. And you guys know, not financial advice in terms of that. Go to your broker if you need to. Maybe your broker can get advice from you. I don't know. It's possible. In terms of the, I know a few who could. Just off the record, I think I know a few who could, potentially. In terms of the rising wedge, this is the biggest threat to freedom for the bulls to move up. It's the bottom line. That's the way that it is. That's the way that Bitcoin likes to operate. We're hung up upon this specific golden short line on the 4 hourly. It's not perfect. What else are we hung up upon in terms of Bitcoin? This specific line is important. Please line this out on your specific daily chart. This is a big line here across the top. The descending triangle is here in terms of the specific near flat bottom support engaged, and we have a breakout of that descending triangle framework. I would say more immediately relevant is the line that I brought to our VIP in the back this morning. And if you'll take the daily chart and look at the level of resistance hit, and if you look at that current framework that we're in, we're just pushing up along this level of resistance. And that is an immediate contact zone along with what? Along with our top pro line, which is traded very well. And the target, this target of the specific top side band of the Bollinger, which completed has a target to the upside. Boom. Now, everybody wants the next trade. You're in the position of what? If you traded to the upside target, what are you in the position of? I say this all the time, and now you know. You probably know what I'm about to say. It's not a question of if you're going to make money. If you're going to make money, it's a question of how much. Why? Because the biggest question for the trader is, okay, fine, I traded a tactic. I got up and over the 20 moving average on Bitcoin on the daily. I knew what I was doing. I knew I had a target to the upside. Now, I need to know if it's still going to go up. This is the quintessential question that the market's going to pose to you. You've already made money. The question now is going to be, in the absence, let's say, of a clear signal, and this is where you start to dig down and find your answer, but in the absence of a clear overriding primary time frame, such as the daily signal, you're going to be asking yourself, and it's the question you start to really hunt around for, aside from what you know to be true, but looking at the specifics, the question is, you just made money. Now the question is, Well, can I make more money? Are we going to continue up to to the upside direction? And you can make the argument, well, that's where the money is made in the market when something really continues to keep going. Okay, you can. You can make that argument in the market, but I like to couch it in terms of, and let's look at one important feature here as we remind through this specific feature here. Let's go. I think the 8 hourly was nice on this. If you guys will remind the specific wedge tactic that came into play here, and we'll find the exact time frame, etc. But looking at the recovery down into, we'll find the exact time frame where this was just perfect. But looking at this swing back up, boom, to the failed apex of that specific descending wedge. What did we have here? And I'm talking about this move, bam, right? You got it. What was that? A specific target hit back at the apex of a failed descending wedge, right? Again, that demand agreement between buyers on support, sellers on resistance had been violated, right? Because we had a pattern expectation of moving to the upside. We saw a divergence of price line to pattern performance expectation. Okay, price line to the downside, pattern performance expectation, move to the upside, expected. We saw that divergence. We like to target that apex. You will catch on to that if you pay attention to it, and you will, I think, be very surprised with some of the accompanying dynamics of that specific tactic in the market. This is what there was a nice level to break. That needs to hold in terms of the parallel level of support to resistance dynamic. That needs to hold up and out. One of the things that the auto detect function didn't pick up on in terms of the specifics here on Bitcoin on the 8 hourly, 4 hourly, et cetera, was a specific pennant formation. That bull pennant formation. We had the triangulation ongoing. So that specific bull pennant formation was something that could have been an overriding interest in terms of the dynamics, and indeed it did play out. Again, the 4 hourly, just pay attention to that 4 hourly, don't forget it. And the bigger question that we really have, technically speaking, as we were to look at the dynamics in play right now, I just tell you, the number one question for me on Bitcoin, if you're looking for and we'll identify exactly what the battle is immediately. As we were to look at that level of resistance, just notified, brought to your attention the level of resistance. Yes, from that top level concern, multi-pivot level of resistance, what we're looking at is the specific ability for this broadening bottom formation to play up and out over into target. You can identify this as an inverse head and shoulders. You'll get accurate targets for that and for the broadening formation on a conservative basis. Okay, so those would be the targets. Again, I think you'll find we're at the 23.6 parked right along that level of resistance. And to say, well, we need momentum. Well, we need guys, right? We need buyer support and momentum. Those are just really cachet taglines at this point. We know that we'll dig into the micro. We'll dig into the micro and we'll find the solutions for essentially where we're headed in the market. You know that. Nice trades, that 4 hourly playing very well, and just respect that top line resistance, that dynamic that is in play as you trade Bitcoin. It has engaged as of right now, so don't be oblivious to that specific line that has engaged, and as well, do not be oblivious to the rising wedge. In terms of that, we do have that preference here that we would not enter into a long here, without a doubt. If you entered in and you're looking to let an interest long ride, that's completely different than saying, well, price is going up. I would highly suggest to a friend or enemy, to be honest, just don't enter long over a rising wedge. Can you skyrocket to the upside? Sure. But at the same time, it's just typically a very tricky area to enter in long. It's statistically much riskier to enter in long up and over any type of an established rising wedge. Yes, it's statistically much riskier to enter in a long up and over the level of resistance, or to trade any bullish patterns noted, or to trade any bullish patterns up and over that level of resistance. Yes, indeed, and noted. You know this. If you trade a lot, it's preaching to the choir, guys. It's really us having a discussion rather than me saying anything otherwise. And you can tell I trade a lot because it's a discussion. And for those of you who trade a lot, you get it, right? And we're not going to have this discussion with people who don't trade a lot because they don't. They're probably a little out of sync, maybe not out of sync, but let's just say some of this will just fly by as mere commentary. Whereas if you trade a lot, it will have more some different level of relevance. Agreed. We'll agree on that. In terms of the specific bull target, if we just say forget it, Where are the bulls headed? They're headed to this top line carry up here from the parallel carry down level of support to resistance, right? And along with the specific, and again, back to the top line on that daily feature. If we were to look at that, that's a key level of consideration on Bitcoin. Boom, engaged. Okay, so as we were to look at, looks like NVIDIA has a nice recovery again, noted weekly pickup, 20 moving average. Just confirm the following. Maybe like we didn't catch it on the stream. Well, on the stream, you're going to be 8 seconds behind any move that we have. We've discussed that. Make sure your charts are set up. Make sure you're ready to deploy and engage in price action immediately, quicker than you can say, well, I'm going to miss the first 8 seconds. Guys, you need to be able and ready to engage quickly in the market. 8 seconds is crippling in the market in terms of, imagine being 8 seconds behind the residual of the traders. That ain't going to happen, guys. It's not going to work. So just do note that the specific framework in play has engaged. Note that the specific level of support has engaged on the daily and the weekly, specifically relative to the 20 moving average. Nicely done. And relative to our specific daily line that we outlined. And I'll tell you, if you didn't have this line in play, this was a break of a specific pattern in play, right? That specific major, the primary bull trend channel. So this was an awful place to short. My goodness, what an awful place to short. You know this, but it doesn't go without saying. I mean, because you would sit there and say, well, all the bulls have just capitulated. We're down through this level of primary support. However, so this is how important it is to identify this line, to also recognize the 20 moving average on the weekly. We've got this level of support. Orders were what? Orders were waiting. Boom, boom, boom. Nice play thus far. Bulls, you have a job. Do you think you have a job? On NVIDIA. And how appropriate that we have incoming on Wednesday, we have the Fed. You got it right. So if they want to break the neck of NVIDIA, it's on the brink. It would be interesting to still be in this zone by the time we get to Wednesday. It wouldn't be unheard of, but it would be nice to see the bulls do their job, although they just pulled back here to this level of support, right? So you can say bulls do your job, but bulls kind of opened up with a bit of a foot on the brake here, right? We're in the Indianapolis 500. The bulls have put their foot on the brake of the market a little bit with this lower pickup line. Just understand the dynamics in play, that they've pushed back just a little bit, pulled back just a little bit in terms of the specific orders that are picked up at that level. It did provide a clean pickup on the specific target in play. And we talked about that on the specific target, which was that 20, the second standard deviation from that 20 moving average, which would be that bottom side band. So that assisted in recognizing the weekly 20 moving average and recognizing the specific lower double pivot trend line. So those are the dynamics in play on NVIDIA. Let's see where we're at. And again, the micro is going to dictate quite a bit there. Let's look at the level being reinforced right now. That 20 on the 3 minute is a hurdle. As we were to look at in terms of Tesla, looking at a potential recruit move here with that golden pocket engaging. Let's look at the 4 hourly, and I'm always going to go back to the 4 hourly as a primary time frame. We'll go to the specific 1 hourly as well, right? A little bit quicker, a little bit less reliable, and not as highly regarded. Before we pull out the stops and say, well, this is where the bulls are really stacked right now, and where things, where we would just expect price to flow to. This specific level of support here across the bottom, definitely it's in play. Definitely it's being considered to the extent that we want to, let's say, just remain patient in this zone. Just understand that your specific trade tactics are going to provide quite a bit in the form of some flash trades at lower time frames in between, and likely in between this specific zone, or say current price action and this zone here. But obviously this is a level of consideration, right? We know that without a doubt. And the 4 hourly, I would be, very interested to see personally shorts engage along this specific line. Okay, that's me personally. I'd like to see shorts engage along this line. I will state that Tesla can become a bit aggressive to the downside. She's down 3% today. The news that I saw before the market open was something along the lines of a Turkish discussion in terms of what was it, guys? A plant operation battery manufacturing facility in Turkey. Okay, we're looking at the 4 hour pro line right now. Attempt to pick up with the catch, the 20 moving average below. The specifics were that Elon had met with Turkish leadership in terms of direct leadership, in terms of a potential for putting in or establishing manufacturing facilities in Turkey. In addition, there's some discussion or rumbling around about the potential for Saudi Arabia to be courting Musk a bit in terms of the specifics for some sort of an operational or manufacturing presence in Saudi Arabia. So I thought that was interesting to the extent that that's ongoing, and that there's a bit of a Musk is getting around, and it seems like his product is hot enough to attract some real international attention by some world leaders. So he's being courted in that regard. So very interesting. We'll see how that plays out with Musk. I'm sure he'll. It must be interesting to be that guy. You have to say that. I can make jokes about his ego or otherwise, but it must be interesting to be that guy. Quite a challenge if you look at his ego and his personality and just remaining cool. He's got a lot of pressure and interest in who he is and what he's building. So we like the volatility. We'll say number one, we like the products are great, but we like the volatility. Looking at some pickup levels here, obviously noting to the downside, this specific gap is on the map, right? Gap is on the map, guys. We have a gap here as well, but looking at that specific gap from the closed open, this was a significant, and we'll say down to here, pardon for that, but the specific gap that was hiding a little bit on my chart near that green buy line, but this specific gap here, Phil, and I'll mark this out here while we have that correctly identified as a level of interest at the 249, without a doubt, and that would be I'll just say the closeout to the specific. If we were to look at the dynamics in play that might even mitigate a level of support pickup at this level, would be the specific 249 level of interest in that gap, which is on the radar at that level, right? So primarily, technically speaking, looking at the specifics, and we can begin to compromise this as we look at lower levels if we so choose, okay? If we so choose to get a bit more bearish on Tesla. And as soon as we do it, this is the key to making Tesla hopefully turn around if you're a bull, right? But we've had great success with Tesla, so we're not going to shun any opportunity to get in lower. That's just the bottom line. But looking at the specific topping formation, always, please make sure that you do the proper analysis in terms of your pattern dynamics. Remember that ascending triangle, the descending wedge, and do include any specific topping formations that come into play along with any more aggressive, right? Along with any more aggressive targets to the downside. Now, we had a specific, remember this on NVIDIA, we had a multiplicity of targets to the downside on Friday, was it, right? On Thursday, maybe through Friday. Do you recall the multiplicity of downside targets based upon this structuring here? We did. We had more aggressive, less aggressive. We had all different types of pattern dynamics in play. We did, if you'll recall that, ones that were more aggressive, scheduling in shorts before, or scheduling in rather longs before on certain pattern dynamics with others less aggressively structured. What I'll say is all of them were cleared. So as you look at this, and shout out again to all the VIP who went short overall to that daily downside band. That's the overriding level of interest. I'll just say I don't want to always talk about what the VIP are doing. By the way, you'll note that I don't always want to talk about the positions that we're in. I want a fair, even, balanced, let's just say a fair, even, and balanced approach to technicals. And I don't like the environment where people can just hammer into trades along with everyone else. I want to ask you one question. If you had a positive trade, now let's say you had a very high chance of a positive trade and you were going to make money on it, please pay attention. If you were going to make money on your trade, and as you distinguish your level of activity in the markets or with anyone else, etc., if you had a very nice trade yourself and a very nice expectation of trading that specific and completing that trade, if you knew that by sharing that information with a large group or number of people, that your chances of that trade being successful were going to drop. And I'm saying you have a trade in the market, okay? You have an expectation, let's say a high degree of expectation that the trade is going to be successful. If you knew, okay, if you knew that sharing that trade with other individuals in the market had a likelihood or created the possibility that your trade chances would go down, would you share that trade? Guys, the answer is no. You would not. In a logical world, 10 out of 10 times, no, you're not going to share that trade. All right? And let's have the turnkey in that equation be if you knew that there was something in terms of having a crowded trade, right? In terms of dispensing with your own trade advantage just freely and openly. Just consider that dynamic at play in the market. People want a popular trade. No, you don't. If you have a winning trade, I just tell you, the majority of the time, if you knew that the specific trade chances would be compromised, okay, by participation of others who you may not even know, would you personally, would you want people to know your trade? I'll mention it slightly here and there in terms of the positions I know that you have. I'll give you a balanced approach technically as we look at the specifics, kind of what to watch out for or otherwise. If you have a solid position, it's just, it is a dynamic that is in play in the markets. I want you just to at least be aware of it and at least have an even, let's say, just level of consideration or ability to digest that specific component as it may affect you or not, and respect the fact that I try and not push positions. I just try not to push positions. It's not, given reflexivity, decayed alpha, etc. It's not something that we're an exclusive group and no one else should participate in what we decide to do or our tactics. But just understand, reflexivity is a real maxim in the market. Okay? Decaying alpha is a real maxim in the market. Yes, those are advanced real market terminologies. So as we were to look at, looks like not BBC, what is this? Bloomberg reporting that a prisoner is held in Iran are released arriving in Doha. Okay, so that's a financial update or breaking news just released by Bloomberg Television Network now, just in case that were to be of interest to you. Very interesting in terms of that. Looking at the specifics here, let's go ahead on NVIDIA. Let's lay out the head and shoulders along with that descending wedge feature, left shoulder head, right shoulder, and we see what? We see the 23.6 essentially as the pickup for what? For a confirmation nearly down to that 38.2. Nice push on the 15-minute. That's a lot of volatility on that pickup. Here on the lines, you'll see that 23.6 being respected. And so as we dig into the start of a week, what did we get? Some nice volatility to the downside, which looks like it is continuing. Which looks like it's continuing in terms of Tesla. The trade commentary that I provide is just for our consideration. It's just for our group to. I don't want to make statements about others in the market per se. When I'm talking about just some trade advantages that we try and establish, and what the mechanisms in place are. As you look at our, and I'm going to bring this up on the side screen. As you look at our specific. Let me go to this in terms of the tools that we've created just to have this discussion with you, okay? This is important that we have this discussion, however briefly here. As we were to look at the specifics for the myriad of trade tools that we have, okay? If we were to look at the specific indicator suites and trade tools that we have, I want you to understand that there are enough of them to where we don't just have a room of point and shoot traders. You point the direction, we'll all shoot that direction, guys. That's not what we're known for. I want enough tools in the toolkit to where you can test and develop the tactics that you want to trade, and it's not just you guys know it's not a guided tour with a leash on, right? It's like, no, we want to explore the market a little bit. We want to develop our own trade tactics. And you guys are way too proficient in terms of what you do and how you interact with the markets to expect any otherwise. It's a pleasure to trade with you guys. It's a pleasure to discuss things with you and to experience the market open, the New York Open. Looking at the dynamics, NVIDIA was the hot spot today. You guys got that. And Tesla, just a little aggressive. We appreciate that about Tesla. Tesla's also the one that would get up for 13 days and not quit and have everyone's jaw dropping in this zone. or in this zone. So appreciate the volatility, understand what it means in the context of the ability to trade the specific asset, right? This specific 4 hourly is in play, that 20 moving average, which has pushed around a bit, but we've had a few. Let's look at that weekly on NVIDIA, right? That weekly pickup was perfect. Wasn't it just rock and roll today? Like, bam, nice hit, nice 20 moving average hit, beautifully well done. On Tesla, look at a few nice hits on this specific 4 hourly 20 moving average. It's being considered. What's the hurdle? When I say it's being considered, there are orders waiting at that level, guys, without a doubt. Look at the direct hits. Boom, boom. These were nice hits. This is a nice hit here. Look at this specific, about a 2% move there. Nice hit. This one ultimately here, this specific hit at the 4 hourly 20 moving average was what? That was a 6% hit, up to really maximize out at 6.56% or more, right? Or more, depending upon up through a 15%, right? So as you guys engage in your trade tactic, just want to say good morning. Nice New York open. Nice to see the trade elements at work. And again, what's the barrier to the downside? The specific lower pro line on the 4 hourly just doesn't want to give up. It's engaged, it's trading, right? As we were look at the specific downside targets for the bears, you're just seeing the bears have to get through the hurdles, right? One of those hurdles is our kernel calculative. And just thank you all for being here. Exciting that, guys, we have a great opportunity to close out 2023. Let's start thinking that way in terms of our ability to just step in and try and dominate this market with as much reasonable respect in every different direction that we can, but really trying to hone in every single dynamic that we can to really make an impact and a statement in terms of how proficiently and how well we have done this year. I look forward to doing that with you in 2023. This is London with Bitcoin Spike and VIP Trader. Take care. Let's have a great week. Bye-bye.